Something has changed, Pisces. You might not have words for it yet. It is not the kind of change that announces itself with fanfare or arrives with a clear before and after. It is quieter than that. It is more like a shift in the ground beneath you, subtle but real, the way the air changes just before a season turns. Something about the way you are moving through your days feels different. Something about what you are willing to accept feels different. Something about who you are, down in the deepest part of you, is not the same as it was 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. You have been through something. Maybe several somethings. Things that tested you in ways you did not know you could be tested. Things that asked you to keep going when you had very little left to go with. You are still here. That alone means something. But there is more happening than just survival. Something is building. Something new is taking shape in your life. And the signs of it are already present if you know where to look. This video covers 10 signs that Pisces has already entered a stronger chapter, that the difficult season is not just ending but has already ended, and that what is beginning now carries a different quality, a different energy, a different weight. You may not be able to see the full shape of what is coming yet, but the signs are already here. And once you recognize them, you will understand that the turning point was not somewhere ahead of you. It was already behind you. Sign 1. You are no longer willing to shrink for anyone. There was a time not so long ago when you would have made yourself smaller to keep the peace. You would have swallowed what you felt. You would have agreed when you disagreed, stayed quiet when you had something to say, adjusted yourself to fit whatever the space around you required. You did this not because you lacked backbone but because your nature is to preserve harmony. You feel what tension does to a room and to the people in it, and your instinct has always been to smooth it over, even when that meant smoothing over yourself. But something has shifted. Lately, when you start to go through those motions, something inside you resists. Not in an angry way. Not in a way that wants conflict. Just a quiet, clear refusal. A part of you that stands still and says, no, that is not how this is going to go anymore. That refusal is one of the clearest signs that you have crossed into a stronger chapter of your life. Pisces who are still in the middle of their difficulty accommodate endlessly. They absorb. They adapt. They bend. Pisces who have come through it stop bending. Not because they have become rigid or cold, but because they have developed enough respect for themselves that they no longer give it away in the hope of keeping someone comfortable. This is not hardness. This is self-respect beginning to work properly. The fact that you are less willing to shrink is not something to manage or apologize for. It is evidence of growth. It is one of the first signs that a stronger version of you has arrived. Sign 2. Your energy is starting to protect itself automatically. Pisces absorbs energy the way a sponge absorbs water. This is not a metaphor. It is a genuine description of how you experience the world. When you walk into a room, you feel the emotional temperature of every person in it. When someone is in pain, you do not just observe it from a distance. You feel it in your body. When someone is anxious, you carry some of that anxiety with you after the conversation ends. This absorption has always been with you, but in previous chapters of your life it was largely unmanaged. You took in everything and had no consistent way to protect yourself from it. This made you extraordinarily available to other people's emotional needs, and chronically depleted at the end of it. Something is different now. Something in your system has begun to learn slowly, and through a lot of trial and difficulty, where you end and where someone else begins. You are starting to notice more quickly when you are absorbing something that does not belong to you. You are starting to feel the drain earlier in an interaction and making different choices about how long you stay in it. You have not become less sensitive. That is not possible for Pisces, and it is not what you would want. But you are becoming more able to navigate your sensitivity in a way that sustains you rather than depleting you. That is a sign of a stronger chapter. The protection is not a wall. It is a filter. And it is becoming more naturally yours every day. If what you are hearing feels accurate, know that it could happen if you applied this energy consistently for 21 consecutive days. That is the 21-day challenge pinned at the top of this channel. It is built around daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you are tired of staying in the same cycle, that structure is exactly what has been missing. Sign 3. You have started choosing peace over drama without even thinking about it. There was a time when chaos found you easily, or perhaps more accurately, when certain people and situations brought drama into your life, and you stayed in the middle of it longer than you should have. Not because you enjoy drama. Pisces does not. but because your compassion kept you engaged, because you believed things could be resolved, because you could not stand the idea of walking away while things were unfinished. Drama has a way of attaching itself to Pisces through the door of your empathy. Someone is suffering. You feel it. You want to help. The situation around the suffering is chaotic and consuming and relentless. But you stay because leaving would feel like abandoning someone who needs you. The sign of a stronger chapter is that you are making different choices here without having to convince yourself to do it. Peace is beginning to feel more natural to you than engagement with chaos. The pull toward the drama is losing its grip. You find yourself declining invitations to conflict, not because you are suppressing your nature, but because your nature is genuinely starting to prefer stillness. This is a sign that your inner world has stabilized enough that it no longer resonates at the same frequency as chaos. You have raised your vibration, and where you are now, the chaos does not feel like home the way it once did. Sign 4. You have made at least one choice recently that surprised you. Somewhere in the recent past, you made a choice that the old version of you would not have made. Maybe you walked away from something you would have stayed in before. Maybe you said something you would have swallowed before. Maybe you turned down something that would have seemed like an opportunity a year ago, but that you now recognize was not aligned with where you are going. Maybe you chose yourself in a moment when you previously would have chosen to accommodate someone else. Whatever that choice was, it surprised you a little. Not because it was wrong, because it was new. Because it came from a part of you that was not running the decisions before but is starting to now. Every person who enters a stronger chapter of their life has at least one of these moments, one decision that did not fit the pattern of who they used to be, one choice that came from the new version of themselves before the new version was fully visible. You have already had yours. Look back at the last several months and find it. It is there. And it matters more than you may have realized at the time, because it was the first vote you cast for the person you are becoming. Sign 5. Your relationship with solitude has changed. Pisces has always needed time alone. Your inner world is rich and it requires tending. But there is a difference between the solitude of someone who is overwhelmed and retreating and the solitude of someone who is strong and recharging. For much of your recent past, your alone time has been the first kind. You were retreating from too much, recovering from too much, trying to piece yourself back together after giving too much of yourself away. That solitude was necessary and healing, but it came from depletion. Something about the quality of your alone time is shifting now. It is becoming less about recovery and more about creation. Less about hiding and more about thinking clearly. Less about getting away from the world and more about going inside to build something. You are beginning to enjoy your own company in a way that goes beyond just needing quiet. You are finding that time alone does not feel as heavy as it once did. You are making things in that time, ideas, plans, art, writing visions for your future. You are meeting yourself in the quiet and finding someone you actually like. That is not a small thing. For Pisces, the relationship you have with yourself is the foundation of everything else. When that relationship becomes one of genuine companionship rather than just endurance, everything else in your life begins to rise with it. If this message is resonating with your sign right now, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal at exactly the right moment. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support, whether as a subscriber or as a member of this community, is what keeps these messages alive. The ones that touch hearts, awaken minds, and transform lives. If this video has been making sense to you, drop in the comments the day you were born. Let us keep going. Sign 6. People are beginning to react to you differently. You may not have fully registered this yet, but the way certain people respond to you has changed. Some people who used to dismiss your needs more casually are now paying more attention. Some who used to take your availability for granted are now more careful about how they approach you. New people in your life seem to treat you from the beginning with a respect that you might not have attracted as consistently before. This shift in how people react to you is not happening because you have changed how you present yourself to the world, though that is part of it. It is happening because the energy you carry has changed. People respond to energy before they respond to anything else. What they feel when they enter your presence now is different from what they felt even a year ago. The self-doubt that used to color your interactions has quieted. The eagerness to be accepted that used to make you slightly too available is less prominent. What has taken its place is something more settled, something that communicates to others at a level below words that you know your own worth and you are not negotiating it. That settled quality changes every interaction you have. It is a sign of a stronger chapter, and it is one that others can sense even when you cannot quite see it in yourself yet. Sign 7. Your creativity or spiritual practice has come back alive. Pisces without their creative or spiritual outlet is like a river with its source blocked. The water has nowhere to go. Things start to stagnate. The richness and depth that are natural to your sign have no channel, and so they turn inward in ways that can become destructive, anxiety, escapism, emotional flooding, the sense that you are drowning in your own feelings with no way to transform them. During the hardest parts of your recent journey, your creative and spiritual life may have gone quiet. It may have felt impossible to access the part of you that makes things or prays or communes with something larger than daily life. That block was a symptom of the difficulty you were in, not a sign of who you are. And something has changed. The channel has begun to open again. You may have picked up something you put down, started something you have been thinking about for a long time, found your way back to a practice that used to bring you peace. Notice that the desire to create, to imagine, to connect with something that goes beyond the material world is returning with a strength you were not sure it still had. That return is one of the most reliable signs that Pisces has crossed into a stronger chapter. Your creative and spiritual life is your connection to Neptune, to the deepest parts of who you are. When it reactivates, it is a signal from the core of you that the time of contraction is over and the time of expansion has begun. Sign 8. You are beginning to see a path forward where you could not before. There was a period not long ago when the future looked murky. Not threatening necessarily, but unclear in a way that felt paralyzing. You could not see the next step clearly. You could not picture what you were building toward. The forward view was foggy and staying in the present felt like the only option, but even that felt unstable. Something has begun to shift in your ability to see ahead. It is not that everything is suddenly mapped out. Pisces does not operate with rigid detailed plans, and that is not what is being described here. What is changing is the feeling when you think about your future. Where there was fog, there is beginning to be a direction. Where there was blankness, there is beginning to be the outline of something. A sense, even if it is still vague, that you are moving towards something real and good rather than simply moving away from something bad. This emerging vision is a sign that your energy has reorganized itself forward. During difficulty, energy contracts and focuses almost entirely on the present moment, on surviving what is immediately in front of you. When things begin to genuinely shift, energy starts to extend again toward the future. You are experiencing that extension. It may feel tentative. It may come and go. But it is there. And its presence is one of the clearest signs that a stronger chapter has begun. Sign 9. The right people are starting to stay and the wrong ones are drifting away. There is a natural sorting that happens when a person genuinely changes. The people who were drawn to you when you were smaller, more available, more willing to accept less than you deserved, begin to drift. Not necessarily through conflict or dramatic ending. Often it happens quietly. The contact becomes less frequent. The connection feels less compelling on both sides. And new people begin to appear, people who somehow seem to see you more clearly from the start, who meet you where you are now rather than where you were then, who offer something more aligned with what you are becoming. You may have been noticing this already. Some connections in your life are beginning to feel more effortless while others are requiring more maintenance than they are worth. Some relationships are deepening in ways that feel organic and right, while others are beginning to feel like they belong to a version of your life that no longer quite fits. This is not betrayal or loss, even though it can feel that way in the moment. It is alignment. The people meant for your stronger chapter are finding their way to you. The people who were meant for a different season are beginning to complete their time in your story. Trust the sorting. It is not something you need to force or resist. It is simply the natural consequence of becoming more fully yourself. Sign 10. You have started to feel grateful for things you could not see the value in before. This sign is perhaps the subtlest and also the most profound. Something in how you relate to your own story has changed. The things that happened to you, the hard things, the painful things, the things that cost you enormously and left marks that took a long time to begin to heal, you are beginning to see them differently. Not with a manufactured positivity that pretends they did not hurt. Not with a false cheerfulness that dismisses the real cost of what you went through, but with something more honest and more powerful than that. A quiet recognition that those experiences built something in you. That the loss you endured made you more compassionate. That the betrayal you survived made you wiser. that the period of isolation and difficulty grew a depth in you that you could not have reached any other way. That gratitude, even for hard things, is one of the clearest signs of genuine growth. It is the sign of a person who has not just survived something but integrated it, who has taken what life handed them and turned it into something useful, something that now belongs to their strength rather than sitting in their memory as a wound. Pisces who have truly entered a stronger chapter begin to stop seeing their past as something that happened to them and start seeing it as something that happened for them. Not because life is cruel and lessons require suffering, but because you are the kind of person who finds meaning, who builds beauty out of difficulty, who does not let hard things go to waste. That is not everyone's nature. It is yours, and it is one of the greatest signs that you have truly arrived at a stronger place in your story. If this message resonated with your sign, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it always sends exactly the right signal, and you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support as a subscriber or as a member of this community is what keeps these messages alive. They are the messages that touch, awaken, and transform. If this video made sense to you, leave in the comments the day you were born. If even a few of those signs felt familiar as you listened, then you are not hoping for something good to begin. You are already in it. The stronger chapter is not a destination you are traveling toward. It is a reality you are already living, even if it does not yet look the way you imagined it would. Change at this level does not always arrive with obvious scenery. It arrives in the way you respond to things, in what you choose, in how you feel in your own body when you walk into a room, or make a decision or set a boundary. It arrives in the slow, quiet accumulation of choices that are slightly more aligned with who you truly are. And those choices are already happening for you. The work is not finished. There is more ahead. A stronger chapter does not mean a perfect chapter. There will still be hard moments. There will still be days when the progress feels invisible and the old fears try to pull you back. That is not regression. That is the texture of real growth. Growth is not linear and it is not always visible in real time. But the direction is set. The foundation has shifted. The person you are becoming is already here, showing up in the decisions you are making and the things you are no longer willing to accept. Trust that. Hold on to that when the doubt comes. You have already done the hardest part, Pisces. You have already come through the season that was meant to break you and found that it did not. What it did instead was build something in you that nothing can take away. That is who you are now. And who you are now is more than enough to build something extraordinary with. Keep going.